Hey guys, this is Dardamos of Dardamos Dominions, and I'm back with Uncle Joe Stalin. Say hi, Uncle Joe.
Sup, little kitties?
So, my kids have made it back in the household, so we might be getting some guest stars in this video. I hope that they stay in the other room, but you never know.
We've got four nations left, and I know it took us an hour to get through the first four. I can promise you it'll probably take us an hour to get through the next four.
A nice thing is like you got like things like Airmore and Stellaria that are kind of, I mean, they're almost videos in themselves. Hopefully we won't have as many this time, except Ashdod's a little bit of a video on its own. Pangea can be, but Satissus, I mean, we'd go right into them. Satissus is kind of straightforward.
There's one way to play Satis well, and that is Magic 3. Your other scales, they really don't matter. As long as you have Magic 3, Growth 3, you can basically do whatever you want to Satis, because as soon as you hit Enchantment 5, you walk over and you kill the person next to you without poison resistance.
Now, that's kind of one of the things that's about Dominions is that Enchantment 5 is a huge research goal. You want to go into why is Enchantment 5 so dominating?
Well, when you look at Enchantment 5, you see there are the Flame Ward, Winter Ward, and Thunder Ward. That helps to reduce the damage from Area of Effect evocations, which are not a lot, but it helps. You also see the spell Quagmire. It's a very niche spell, but it basically means every unit that is not swamp survival fights like a poor amphibian underwater, which is really strong, boosting certain nations. You then hit the cream of the crop, Dispel, Eyes of God, Horde of Skeletons, and Foul Vapors. Eyes of God, there is no better way to gather information than to cast it. It's cheap, it's a relatively easy spell to get to, and most nations that take Astral on their god will take Astral 4 at the very least, and they just need a little booster to cast it. Horde of Skeletons is a straight upgrade from Raise Dead, which is the bare minimum death spell you need to Skelly spam. It is low encumbrance, high number of effects, and the AI loves to cast it off script. The final combat spell is Foul Vapors, which, if you've ever played Dominions and bitched about poison magic, this is the battlefield wide version of it. And it hits approximately 50% of all units on the battlefield every round. So technically, you roll really, really well. That one special unit without poison resistance can survive. Not it can survive without being hit by it, but it's going to be hit by it.
Now, when it says 5, is that 5 with a random roll, or is there not a random roll?
It's I believe it's 5 plus the DRN number.
Okay, that's big DRN, so it's like 2d6, right? Or is it like
Yeah, I
1d6?
believe it's 1d6 that can explode.
Because I've heard rumors that you can actually poison your own guys. Even
Oh, yes, you can poison them very easily. The battle goes longer than 30 rounds. You can poison your own troops as Satis because you only have poison resistance 8 on your most resistant troops.
now, so the goal would be to do a lot of skeletons, a lot of poison, and then make it where eventually your skeletons either kill the things with poison resist, and the things without poison resist you kill with the poison. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah. There are if you can't kill it with skeletons and poison as Satis, you're in from a rough attempt. Because when you look at the Sorrowmancer, which is which is your recruit anywhere mage, you see it can cast foul vapors right out of the box without any things. Might be a yeah, that's right. It might
It's
be
a
a
Marsh
Marshmaster.
Masters. Okay, the Marsh Masters. Okay.
Sorrowmancer is EA and late age. So you see it's got a water 1, death 2, nature 2, and a random of water, nature, death, and astral
Oh
with a
man,
10% of the exact same paths.
that's ridiculously good. So in order to do Foul Vapors and Horde of Skeletons, you need Water, Nature, and Death, and this guy literally has Water, Nature, and Death.
Yeah. And the best part is, other than every Marshmaster can and probably should be twice spawned, because they're not sacred, so they cost a lot of gold upkeep. But when you twice spawn the lizard and send the lizard to die in some faraway province, he pops back as a twice spawned mage with 0 upkeep.
Oh man, it's 10 gold a turn for those guys. Yeah, that can add up really quickly. The one thing I saw about these guys is that they've, you can normally go scales on them really well, and isn't there something where, because there's something weird about their Dominion, correct?
Yes, the Satis Dominion is unique to MA Satis. If you're not a cold-blooded swamp survival lizard, you become diseased in their Dominion.
Jeez.
That means the indie priests will be fine since they're holy, but indie commanders, indie troops will become diseased if you recruit them in your own Dominion.
I subbed for a guy playing this, and like I got on there, and it was hilarious. He had like a handful of indie mages, and every single one of them. I mean, like some of these slow to recruit, expensive mages, and they're all diseased, dude. I mean, every single one of them.
Yeah.
So it's nice, but it's also bad.
So you look at Satis and you see a whole bunch of lizards with spears, not a lot of armor, not a lot of hats. And then you're going to look at their 4 really good troops. They're elite warriors, they're falchineers, they're Sobek warriors, and not their sacred guard, because those guys are limited recruit 1 per turn.
But you can only get one of the. It says can only be recruited in the capital. Is it 1 per turn?
1 per turn per cap. So you can only at most get 1 of these guys per turn.
Jeez, these guys are trash anyways. Like these guys don't look great.
They
55 gold. That's a Garm right there. Only Garm herdings are better than this.
Yeah.
They've got Berserk. They've got a bigger attack. I guess it's not the worst unit in the world, but
it's got 21 protection, and most of that's natural protection.
Okay, it says limited recruitment, so okay, that means that's the one per.
Yeah. Okay. So the Sobek warrior right beside it. So that dude's a great unit. He's a little resource intensive, but he's cheap on recruitment points, and he's got 2 hard-hitting attacks with 20 protection.
Okay. Yeah, these guys are pretty killing.
Elite Warriors, which is the slave version, which have a trident and a bite attack, are super cheap, but they have low morale. And there are a couple nations in this game that can do morale plays.
Yeah, 8 morale is trash.
The armored guys. The ones next to the Falchineers.
Next to the Falchineers. Okay, so these guys, the Elite Warriors. Okay.
Yeah,
but
so they have.
they're slaves, so you can put them underneath one of these like taskmasters, and instantly they're morale 11.
Yeah.
These guys look cool. These little poison slingers.
So the poison slingers actually do enough poison damage that they will poison your own troops.
But it's armor negating. Holy crap! So it literally ignores armor.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. And I mean, I guess you hit your own troops, but who really cares?
Well, you're going to care if you go scale Satis, because scale Satis is the way Satis is played best. You can take a small bless to boost your lizard shamans, because lizard shamans are great mages, and a holy 1, astral 1, nature 1 right next to the lizard king.
Yeah, I've seen wars fought, because you can get these guys through independence, and I've seen wars fought over these guys.
Yeah, and Satis gets them in every fort. These guys let Satis do astral things. and they let them do weird astral things. If you have enough of these guys, you can theoretically time stomp, master, and slave an Almish army.
Jeez. Yeah, Ulm does not like. Every time I get, I started next to Sitis once, and just, I mean, you can win, but you need to be creative and you need to be better than the other guy. Like those are your options.
Sitis has three types of sacred troops. They have the one per turn. They have the temple trained serpent, which is a giant snake with a venom attack and decent HP. And they have an 18 protection Cetician lizard with a shield and a feathered hat that is decent. But he's basically a human quality troop with a falchion, which for sacred troops, unless we're late age, not a great sacred troop.
Yeah, they've even got natural protection already built in, so if you try to put any of the natural protections, it's not going to do anything.
It's not going to do as much. You only get 5 extra from bark skin. You only get 5 extra from invulnerability. You only get 5 extra from hard skin. It's not a lot, but natural protection and protection from armor doesn't scale 1-to-1.
Yeah. So you're looking at getting 5 plus this. So you're going to get 2 more protection. That's it. For a major bless. I don't think that's worth it.
But
I'm not impressed.
They're cheap. They have shields and they have hats, which are nice.
I like whenever I saw these guys just screamed to me Ghost Scales. And not only that, but we didn't hit, another thing about their Dominion is that they get 1% income per level of Dominion. So you could pretty much boost your Dominion or your income by 9% by having 9 or, 10 by 10 candles. And it also
caps at 10%, and the enemy discount caps at negative 50%.
So you can reduce your enemy income by 50%, and you poison everybody that it affects. So you go down 10 with these guys, push your Dominion like mad, and it's almost like economic warfare through Dominion.
Yeah. And that negative 50% stacks additively with Utterdark. Just putting that out there as something you shouldn't do as to dis. But if you really want to make every nation on the world hate guts, you cast Utterdark with your Dominion in their lands.
Jeez.
And Sitis also gets recruitable Holy Threes in the form of the Lizard King, which is their best leader, the lizard in the purple robe. And they get recruitable D1, Nature 1 assassins in the form of the Empoisoner, far right hand.
There he is. So that's D1, N1, and you can spam skeletons, you can spam, or not spam it, but you can get some skeletons, you can get Swarm, and they've got the Poison Slam. That's pretty good.
Yeah. But I'm going to talk a little bit extra. Sitis has 2 really, really good heroes. They have a Sobek Sauromancer, which is basically like your Marchmaster, but it's on a Sobek, so one of those big lizards. So basically you get a Marchmaster with extra death pass on a Sobek.
So he looks like this Sobek general, only he's got a little bit better pass than this.
Yeah. And you get a Empoisoner that is Nature 3, Death 3. Assassin, I think, something like 4 or 5.
So you get a Death 3, so he can literally do, Leech Life, or the one that steals the life that you can't, that's not MR negates?
Yeah, you can steal. Yeah, and you twice spawn him. However, when he comes back as a twice spawn chassis, he loses the assassination ability.
Ouch.
But it is super good. So Sitis's main goals are A, reaching Enchantment 5 as fast as possible. B, finding out which of their neighbors don't have poison resistance and hitting that son of a bitch as hard as they can with as much as they can.
But it seems like it's really hard to get path diversity because the moment that you get something with a path that's different than what you already have, it dies of disease.
Except for the fact that you're a nature nation, which means if you get far enough in construction, you can forge the magical cure-all elixirs. And yes, I know what you're saying. Why would you take nature on Satis? Foul Vapors requires nature gems, so I advocate getting a Nature 5 god and challenging Pan for Mother Oak.
I mean, you're gonna get Nature 3 anyways. You've got the ability to get Astral Nature, so that would give you the ability to make the Ivy
Moonvine.
Staff and the Vine and the Moonvine. Thank you. So you can get Nature 3 or Nature 5 without a problem already, and then you can just make the little disease elixirs.
Yeah, and if you somehow crazily break into blood, there's a disease healer in blood too.
Is there really? I never knew that. What are we talking about?
It's an item. It's not a spell. It's an item.
Ah, okay.
I think it's a construction 6 item. I think it's something like the eyes of something. It gives you a patrol bonus and a disease healer.
Okay, yeah, but Satis is not much of a blood nation. In fact, it doesn't have, which is really sad because, like, with your Dominion being pushed out and wanting to go scales, blood would be kind of nice. And if you got yourself vampires, I don't think that it would, like, cause disease, who cares if you got disease on your vampires? So maybe, I mean, I would almost be interested in seeing if you could get, and that's not bad, get a fountain of blood, get yourself, death 4, blood 4, and something like that.
Oh, Elk, when you go back and look at the national lineup of Satis, and this is constant across all versions of Satis, what do you think is missing?
I mean, I could be snarky and, say a good sacred.
You only have a cap-only scout in the form of a mage.
Oh, as in, okay, so there's no scouts? Oh, and then if you get any scouts, then they can get diseased.
Yes.
And it takes, because you're pushing your Dominion, it takes you 3 or 4 turns to get out of the Dominion. But that's not too bad, though, because you've got, what are they? I thought you have isn't it like a Revenant? A Black Servant. You could do a Black Servant if you really need it, right?
Yes, but I would rather spend my death gems as Satis on their national long dead, which are basically the slave warriors with tridents, as long dead.
Okay, so you have other things you can cast your death spells on.
Yeah, between twice spawning basically every Marshmaster I get, and summoning national long dead, Satis doesn't have much death gems to spare.
Yeah, the thing that's sad about this, he had like some sort of holy level, and you could actually sit there and preach. You could be stealth, assassin, and preaching in somebody else's dominion. Then it would make this guy perfect.
Yeah.
Well, wishes were fishes. So what was your point with the lack of scouts?
So as Satis, if you don't have Dominion everywhere, you won't be able to see anything. And if you're not able to see anything, you are very prone to being taken off guard.
Okay. That's fair enough. So another good thing about the Dominion, so what you're saying is having high Dominion also helps you with your lack of scouts.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, to me, I would, personally, I would aim for something like this where you just get something high death, high blood, pump this to 10, and then just get yourself scales on an imprisoned chassis. I mean, like, Heat 3 is almost free. And just like, I don't know, probably go like that, or I don't know, dude. What scales do you need for these guys? Do you need?
You want to look at the Falchineers because that's what your armies will be mostly made out of, and they're even. So this is MA, which means average resources and average recruitment points. So if you go 2 of each, and then as much magic as you can on an imprisoned god with decent dominion, works fine.
Okay. Yeah. You do something like that. Yeah, I'd like to play around with this and see. I mean, I guess you don't even need 10. You don't even need 10 candles because you get yourself a couple temples and that'll bring you up to 10 already. So, like, I mean, you could go as like 8 Dominion and get yourself almost perfect scales. Yeah, I mean, you're only 6 away, or 1, 2, 3, 4 scales away from perfect scales. That's absolutely beautiful there. But you're not getting a bless. Another thing that's interesting that I'd like to see is you have the ability to do charm with this as well, where you maybe tell your marsh masters, hey, cast a couple rounds of your skeletons, and then do an advanced and cast. And I'm curious if they are on advanced and cast, if they will do either leech life, which there are worse things, or if they would do something like a charm spell, which would be really nice.
They mostly just move forward and cast toward the skeletons. It's something stupid, but Horde of Skeletons is like one of the highest cast AI spells, period.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it's a good spell. I would definitely not knock that at all. But moving into charming and into nations that really do like charming is the next nation is Pan. And
MA Pan.
I have played as EA Pan, and I have some videos up on EA Pan, and they're in my opinion, they're one of the strongest nations in EA. They are super powerful. How does that transition to MA? Are they still as powerful?
Well, the only real difference between MA Pan and EA Pan is that MA Pan you want some production, and that's about it.
So in this one, you want production, you said.
So you want you can't run as much sloth is the equivalent, because when you look at your Centaur Cataphracts.
Okay, yeah.
You can get away with running Turmoil because they're pretty low recruitment points, but they're decent high resources, and they're discount white centaurs. They've got high protection, and they no longer berserk, which is a little sad, but they still hit like trucks with a lance charge. When you look at the white centaur,
this lance stays around, correct?
Yeah, that's a bronze lances stay put. They still get the lance charge and they still put. When you look at the white centaurs at this age, you see that they've got a bronze lance instead of a light lance, meaning they do 1 more base damage.
Okay.
But other
that
than
doesn't seem like a big deal to me. I mean, I know that like some people like to min and max, but when it comes to like 1 damage, I don't see that as like game changing.
Yeah, but it's worth mentioning that that's the difference between EA White Centaurs and MA White Centaurs. 1 damage off a lance charge.
All right, I'll remember to take those in the next All Stars game. Don't take the EA version. But yeah, I mean, there's still a really good kit, and it's still definitely something really nice that you want to put a good bless on. And especially 17 defense is almost elf level defense. Now, when I did this, I did like a rainbow bless with that, where I did, I think I did defense, and then a bunch of resistances, and then, was it Blood Surge? Something like that.
Yeah, that's basically the basic Pan Bless is you, unless you're Grippa, in which case the basic Pan Bless is double swiftness, quickness, is a little bit of fire resistance, a little bit of air resistance, some earth strength buffs, blood surge, plus whatever the hell you want to spend your water bless points on.
Yeah, man, the one thing that I really like that a lot of people don't put their is to do defense skill. I've seen more and more people taking defense skill, but to me, I mean, that's huge. You're getting a +4 to your defense on top of your, defense is 17 already. That's 21. That pretty much makes you, if you're fighting somebody who has 10 attack skill, they pretty much you need to roll Snake Eyes, and they need to open end roll.
Except for the fact that you're forgetting the White Centaur's Berserk and arrows exist.
That's true.
Which I believe there's something stupid like Berserker 5s. I think that's what a White Centaur is off the top of my head.
Berserker 3, but yeah, it's still...
Okay. Then
still 18
defense skill is still better on them, but it drops their defense low enough that they can technically be hit by the stupid little infantry with 10 attack.
Yeah, but you're still getting a plus. You're getting a +8. What it does is it almost negates the Berserker debuff.
Yeah, and I believe for the defense skill Mao for multiple attacks, I believe White Centaurs count as cavalry. However, for the berserking aspect, they don't count as cavalry, which allows them to berserk.
Okay, yeah, because so you can't now cavalry when they're surrounded don't get as harassed down, correct?
Yeah, I believe they take either 1/2 or 1/3 as much harass penalty as infantry.
Okay, but the way that it works with cavalry is that they have a rider, then you can't berserk because the rider, how does that so if it's got a rider it can't berserk, correct?
Yeah, because it is berserking. It's a little dude in the saddle screaming, fighting, while the horse is like, "Nope, I'm just going to act like normal."
So what's interesting is that, or what I've been doing recently with anything that berserks is to go berserk blood bond, because then if one of the units takes damage, it pushes that damage out to all of the other units, and those other units turn berserk, and all of a sudden all of them are like, a raging rampaging berserking group. And I mean, it only takes, nature 5, blood 5 to do that as well. So what else makes Pan so powerful? I mean, they've got a really good sacred, but that's not their only, it's not their only advantage, correct?
They have the most cost-efficient thug unit in the game as the Centaur Ride and Centaur Hierophants.
In my game, these are the guys that I used in order to kill Great Mothers and giants and just anything that was a super combatant. You throw a great sort of swiftness on these guys, and they would just wreck face.
Yeah, there is not much anyone can do to stop you when you're sending a horde of these, because you're always going to be outrating somebody, and they're sneaky, and they have 4 survival, and any afflictions you put on them, they're most likely going to heal with their recuperation. It's not so much about how many of these you can kill, it's how much land you can give up before you have no fight left to put.
What I really like about these guys as anti-super combatants is that you get these little water guys, and they can put out a cold aura that will, I mean, unless you have cold resist, it will just, put you to sleep. It's a really interesting unit to me. But
let's talk about the last 3 mages of Pan. We'll start with the Capricorns, we'll start with those two, the Pans and the Pandemic.
Okay, so what is the Pandemic? Because I never played MA. What do these guys do? What is the difference between these and the standard Pan?
Well, you see, in a standard Pan, you are an Earth Nature mage with a small random of Earth and Nature, and then Earth, Nature, and Blood. A Pandemic is a Nature Blood mage with I believe the opposite random.
10%. Okay, so these guys have got a few more paths, and they've got the 10% random, but they're also going to 100% either Earth or Nature. And what's interesting is getting Earth 3, you only have to go construction 3 in order to get yourself a Dwarven Hammers, and then these guys can make the Kitharonic lion pelts to put onto your Hierophants.
Yep. Now you're cooking with gasoline, and that's what you do. You put those pelts on the Centaur Hierophants, give them whatever weapon you want that's not a whip. Whips are awful. And then just let them kill stuff.
Yeah, that's absurd. Because it counts as head protection and body protection, the Kitharonic lion pelt.
Yep.
So...
And you're going to see that they've lost the Dryad Mother, which was their best seducer. However, they still have the Dryads, which you're going to be like, oh, it's just a nature plus random seducer. However, remember how most mages have shitty morale? And because they have shitty morale, you can just steal the nation's mages. You want fire mages? Go stick a couple of Dryads near Marignon. You'll get fire mages. You want priest smiths and master smiths. Ooh, I hear Alm is dealing with mages this time of year. I think you used to be able to seduce Ermor's undead mages with dryads. I don't think you can do it anymore.
If they've got morale and they've got MR that are not too high, I think you can do it.
So I don't.
Another thing that's interesting is the old Dryads were guaranteed to be nature water, where these ones actually have earth, which turns them a little bit more tanky.
Yeah, but the nature 2 is just going to cast Swarm.
I mean, still, nature 2 means you can cast Swarm more often. Nature 1, one of the problems is that it fatigues you out after, like, what, your second cast or something like that?
I believe you can get 3 casts off.
And then, the one thing I see that's missing is that you're not as easily able to cast Foul Vapors.
Yes. So, the way you cast Foul Vapors now is you get a nature water you get a water random on a Dryad. You stick a staff on them, and you spend 2 gems.
Okay, so it's still not too bad, but you still need to... Because when I was playing, I made my Dryads, but any Dryads you made was... talk about one of the downsides of Pan is that they really don't have a good researcher. The best researcher you can get are these Hierophants. I think, yeah, the Hierophants are almost twice as good as the Dryads for researching.
So, if you don't run Magic 3 on Pan, you're doing something wrong. Because Pan lives and dies by getting the tech faster than anyone else to cast Mother Oak, so that they can just spend nature gems out the ass all game long.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember playing as EA Pan, and I had Mother Oak, and I was so scared I was going to be overcast, because every single turn I was at 0 nature by the end of the turn. I couldn't keep the nature gems. You got mass protection, you got mass regen, you got, charm, I need to get myself some more thistle maces because, who doesn't need thistle maces? And it was really wild how I had, 30 nature gems per turn, but I was very easily casting 30 nature gems per turn.
So you will also see that Pan gets primitive forts. In MA, that means nothing because it still gets you 2 recruitment fort. However, it means the forts that you can build have better stats than the forts you can grow. So it's a toss-up between if you want the forts faster, as such as the Bramble Fort, or you want to spend the extra gold to build it yourself.
The Bramble Forts that I had in EA were still 2 recruitments.
Yes, but the administrative value of them is less than a castle.
Okay, so it gives you more money.
Yeah.
Okay,
and so resources.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the thing is that when I was playing EA Pan, I know a lot of people like, using the centaurs and using these satyrs and the white centaurs, and I still use the white centaurs. But what I did is I used the Pans and I went full turmoil, because the Pans have a very not unique, but it's kind of Something
It,
about Pan.
it's a rare trait to have a Dominion summoner. Pan's Dominion summon is Maenads, which are humans with no prot and 2 attacks. However, if you're in turmoil, you get a whole lot more than in if you're in normal, and if you're in order, you don't get any at all.
One of the things that I really liked about this was that I could use my money towards buying pans, which are a good combat mage, and I mean it's not terrible research. I mean you're getting 20 research for 30 gold or 300 gold in Magic 3, and I was getting the troops on top of it. So in a way, it wasn't very gold efficient, but it was a little bit closer to that gold efficiency level that I try to do of 1 research point to 10 gold.
Yeah, it's better. It's still not great, but it is better. You can also see that pans are naturally poison resistant, which is nice, and that pans can only thug against one nation, and really thug against one nation, and that is Bandarlog, because they have animal awe, and everything Bandarlog can throw at somebody is an animal.
It's a monkey.
Or
I
a
mean,
monkey on a tiger.
I've seen these guys thug against other things. If they're gonna thug, it's gonna be something where you try to go to turn timer because you can get yourself, what is it?
Gaia's thing.
Yeah, Strength of Gaia, which is really interesting because it's really hard to get this spell off, the Strength of Gaia. And what it does, it gives you, the extra nature bonus, it gives you regen, it gives you bark skin, it gives you everything that you need in order to thug. You can then add on, if you want to, Iron Skin and get yourself Tempered Flesh, which are kind of your bread and butter. But my question is, knowing that, I can get myself regen, and I don't need a ring. I can get myself, Strength of Giants. I can get myself, 10 protection, natural protection on top of my armor. What makes it so that these guys are not, where we're saying if you're going to thug somebody out, you're going to go with one of these crappy Center Tides instead of the Pan. Why is the Pan a bad thug?
Pan is almost 3 times the cost of its Centeride. It's a slow to recruit, which is the main problem. It takes a long time to get sufficient pans, and the pan is your combat mage, and your only real combat mage outside of the pandemic, which is cap only. So if you're sending your only real combat mage in as a thug, it is really hard to justify that, because your enemy could be sending out tons of just shitty little mages that they get from every fort. And if they kill a pan, doesn't matter how many they lost, it takes you a while to replace it.
That's true. The other thing that really strikes me is this attack skill right here, which is like 9 attack. If you really want to kill anything, you're probably going to have to put your accessory slots towards, your warrior amulets, which you can get the blood version of the attack pendant, but getting the fire one, you'd probably need like a pretender turn to do it.
Or you just kill Bogus and you use his ring called Precious. But
step one.
That's just big brain steps. Step 1, make Bogus spawn. Step 2, kill Bogus. Step 3, RNG pick up his ring.
Yeah, I actually got it in one of my other games. I was absolutely amazed. And go figure, that game I have absolutely no use for it. I don't have any thugs, so. But it does look really pretty in your lab. So these guys are not going to be your thugs. One thing that's really interesting is that they do have the ability to get moss body through your dryads. So you do have your point buff system, and that could possibly make these pans where you could maybe, but I don't know. I don't normally see pans getting thugged out because, like you said, they're too expensive. Like I said, the attack skill is really low, and it doesn't seem like it's worth it. But at the same time, these guys are recruit anywhere.
but they won't take your big juicy bless that every pan takes for their white centaurs, which
I
is
think
the other problem.
I think that's the other thing right there is they're not holding.
So when you're playing pan, all of your upkeep goes to your pans because they're 300 gold mages and they're not sacred. So they're like, I think something crazy like 20, 25 gold a turn per mage.
Well, I think we hit pan well enough, and now that we're actually going longer on these episodes and shorter, what's the next nation that we're on? We did Catan.
Ashdod.
Let's do Ashdod, and what does
Oh
Van
wait,
get
no,
there?
no, it's Vanheim. We'll do Vanheim next because Vanheim's like Pan. It's
Okay.
simple, it's easy.
I think we might have a visitor coming in here soon. Okay, so Vanheim in the original, because I just got done playing, or not just done, but what we did is I had these. Whoa, they're not sacred anymore. What happened?
So,
What happened to my sacred, two-handed, awesome sauce guys?
so during the age split between EA and MA, Helheim and Vanheim fused. So what Vanheim did is they looked at Helheim's cav, they looked at their Vanheers, and it was like, let's stick my elves on a horse. So you now have Helheim Sacred, but you have Helheim Sacred with armor and better weapons.
So these guys are, they've got the same kit as the White Centaurs that we just saw, a little bit higher defense, much higher protection, and 10 more gold. And fewer
and they
hit
don't
points.
berserk, and they have auto glamour.
Okay, so pretty much the same thing. What's funny is that we say this, but it still is. Even with all those different changes, it still feels like it's a similar unit.
It plays the exact same way, except for since it's so low resources, you can take Sloth as Vanheim and not feel awful about it. Basically, you take a couple resistances to not die to lesser fire elementals or air elementals. You take magic weapons because everyone and their mother takes magic weapons, and then you take stat buffs. Like you pump that defense skill, you pump that strength, and you charge into something you want to watch it explode.
So it looks like that from the White Centaur to this, they have the defensive capabilities, and you can build on that. But they have defensive, and they might be different, but they're still kind of the same. They've got two attacks, and they might be different two attacks, but they're pretty much they've got the same killiness and the same defensive. They just they do it a different way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Pan plays the same way as an elf nation plays. You have every elf nation has at least one big fuck off mage. In Pan's case, that's the Pan. In Vanheim's case, I believe it's the Vandragot.
Okay. Now, what do these guys do? What is your goal with the Vandragots?
Storm demons, and storm demons, and more storm demons.
I mean, oh man, you got the. It's only Death 1. There's not going to be a lot of your Death Evos, your Wailing Winds, and your Winds of Death.
That's the Helheim thing. Vanheim loses most of its death throughout the ages, but it still keeps all of its air and all of its blood. And it also still has a Mastersmith.
Holy crap, 999 sailing.
Welcome to Vanheim.
Yeah, everybody on board. Yeah, it's literally not. I mean, it's almost impossible to 6 times. I mean, if you had all size 6s, you might not be able to sail them across.
You remember your leadership goes up with XP stars, and it is very hard to kill an elf on a horse when blessed properly and geared out. So it's not uncommon to see a Vandergot with 400 leadership.
400 leadership?
To be fair, he rolled one of the 3 leadership heroic traits, but at the same time, yeah, it's not crazy to see them with stupid high leaderships.
That's
we
wild.
can touch the other 3 mages. You get a Mastersmith.
Now, this is not the same as what Ulm has, correct?
So Alm has the cost reduction. A mastersmith adds a path boost onto the paths that they can forge. For example, if you roll, let's say, an Earth 3 Dwarven Smith, that is the saddest Dwarven Smith you can roll. It can
Yeah.
forge Earth 4 gear.
That's Iron Face?
Yeah.
Maybe? That's it?
I think that's the maybe it can forge like Summit, like that special axe.
Okay. What's interesting
But yeah,
is that you could get Earth Air and not still. I mean, if you got Air 2, now you still can't do a Staff of Elemental Mastery.
yeah. So, but you will be able to do that on your god because your god is going to be a juicy rainbow.
Yeah, I mean, and then you get that, and all of a sudden you can possibly even do air boosters. But if you can get air boosters on your Vanderdrops, right? Oh yeah.
Yeah, but your Vanderdots are 400 gold and slow to recruit, while your Dwarven Smiths are, I think, are like 160 and slow to recruit.
But what's interesting, if you're able to pull an Air 2, you can put a air helmet onto one of these dwarves. So you just spend like one turn to make a booster, and then you make this guy be able to do the rest.
Yeah,
But
and
these
if we
guys are
move on
slow
to
to
the other
recruit
two
too.
mages,
These guys are
the
slow to recruit too, right?
yeah,
Okay, which one do you do like a mixture of both, or how does that work?
I get a couple of Dwarven Smiths. You try and get one with every random.
Okay.
So you try and get a fire one, a air one. You reluctantly get like 5 or 6 earth ones, and then you get like a death one for some niche death forging.
Okay.
And then you focus on getting Vandergots because they're so good.
The death ones are kind of the big ones because those guys can actually do the soul staffs. Which is, I mean, that's something. Because if you get one of these guys with death, then you can actually turn him into a death too. So, okay, so the next one, the Van Jarls and the Van Herses. What are the uses of these guys?
So these guys are your thugs. The Van Jarl is more of a combat mage. It's a little expensive. It's air 2, blood 2, which means it can do basic air evos, throw out some elementals if needed. But it is basically it thugs better than the Van Hurst.
Okay.
The Van Hurst thug build, you put an air gem on it, you give it a sword, and you have it cast mist form. Yeah, you have it cast mist form, bless itself, and then attack.
Okay, what's the air gem? What's the air gem for?
Mist form is an 8 air 2 spell that costs no air gems.
Oh, it's air 2. That's correct. Now, do you think that, because I mean, this looks like a decent nation in EA, but how do you deal with the cancer in MA?
So when you look at your troops, there should be 3 troops that stand out. You should have your skin shifters. You should have your skin shifters, which can transform into a second form, I believe. You have your sad, but no longer sacred Vanheers as the Inaris, which still murderize giants.
It's not bad. I mean, they're still kind of a little expensive, but 25 gold isn't
21
terrible.
protection when they get hit.
Holy crap, Berserk 5. Yeah, no lie. But they've got to tank that first hit, otherwise otherwise they're just gonna die straight up.
Yes, but you're an Earth nation due to the fact of your Dwarven Smiths, and you can cast almost all of the Earth spells because you can forge almost all of the Earth boosters.
But in order to cast those Earth ones, you're gonna have to send the Dwarven Smith out.
Yeah,
Which is, I mean, there's worse things.
when you play Formoria, you send Formorian kings out all the time. You play Vanheim, you will send a Dwarven Smith out once in a while.
Yeah, it seems like you'd want your Dwarven Smith smithing while your Vanderdrots would be the ones that I mean, it's really funny. I almost don't see a use for these Vanderdraws.
Storm demons. They summon storm demons.
Do you need the Storm Demons are what? Blood 1, Air 3?
I believe so. I mean, we can check.
I just go to the next screen. Storm Demon are Blood 2, Air 2. And that gives you 1 for... Is there like a bigger spell of it?
Yeah, all the way down the bottom.
Oh, this one?
Mm-hmm.
That takes a lot of research.
Yeah, which is something Vanheim struggles at. But
So
storm
we're going to be
demons.
using this one.
Yeah, but storm demons are good as a nation that can cast storm. You also, with the Vedheim update, I believe you gained the Dwarves of the Four Corners spell. I forget where that is, but it's basically another Armageddon spell.
Yeah, it's down here. Valkyries. There we go. The Summon Dwarf of the Four Directions. These guys are really cool too. You can actually cast them too. In contrast to, like, I'm playing as a game as Utgard, and they gave me this spell, and I'm just like, thanks for the spell. I'll never cast.
So
But
you can actually cast that by sticking a Staff of Elemental Mastery and a Bloodstone on your Vandergot.
Air Earth, if you can get a Staff of Elemental Mastery, you can cast this spell, unless you went Fire Water.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's already set.
But you're already taking a stupidly big rainbow as Vanheim, because let's face it, you're probably going to pick either a monolith and throw blood on that monolith, or you're going to pick a little old man, give it blood, nature, astral, and then all the elemental paths.
So something like this right here, you make it in prison and get yourself a couple scales.
Yeah,
and
so
then make
I
sure
would
you
go something like Dominion. I think it works best on the Archmage.
Okay.
Something like Dominion 6 or 7.
I mean, this would
not
not
the
be
dwarf.
bad.
The dwarf has 20 cost paths. The little fire dude. Actually, yeah, that guy, the Archmage.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that's really nice. Holy crap! So you end up with like almost 7 scales.
Yeah, and you give yourself like Dom 7.
I'll look at that. A perfect 0 design point.
Yeah, and you basically.
Do you need Dom 7?
Dom 7, Dom 6 works fine. You don't need production.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at how many. So you get 4 scales out of this right here, which is not terrible.
So you go order 3.
Order 3.
You go order 3.
And then definitely.
I would go heat 1. I would go heat 2 because it's 3 scales.
But then during the summer, you're receiving monies. Like your income is -11 during the. So you lose 10%.
Yes, but at the same time, it allows you to pick up a luck scale.
Oh yeah, I'd actually take a little bit of misfortune, and then like bump that, or just take like neutral at that point. Although that's kind of painful too.
You can get away with sloth because when you look at the what are they called?
The vans.
Vans, they only cost 16 resources.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it looks like you could almost maybe even pull like a sloth 3, and then you're sitting at you're almost at perfect. And that's not bad right there. That's really good scales. I definitely test this out though.
Yeah, that's basically what I would run. And through the forging power of your dwarfs, you can basically get anything you need.
Yeah, you're still not able to get.
You can make the fire death. You can make the fire death booster with your dwarfs to get yourself up to fire 4.
That's what I was thinking, is fire death, and then you're getting that really easily. I mean, you could actually technically get earth boots and then have one of your other guys make the air booster as well.
Or you just bite the bullet and empower an air.
that's the Chad move.
No, the Chad move is you press Shift X to pillage your enemy's cap once you've taken it, but we don't have to go there.
Yeah, that doesn't give you air gems.
So
It
there
just
is only
it gives you
there's
soul
only
gems.
yeah, it gives you salt gems, but they're super effective against Lucid. But I
Yeah,
digress.
I think it's super effective against everybody.
There is only one unit on Vanheim that you do not make, and it is
Yeah.
the Immortal Boars. They cost 100
Oh,
gold.
come on. Okay, I wanna debate this one right here because they are the awesomest unit in the game. They
I
give
don't care that
they are immortal, okay?
so are vampires that I get from events.
I try to get these to work because they're in the EA van, right?
Yes.
Only they give you they give you a supply bonus here too. So like what's really interesting is that you might actually want to make one of these, dude. Think about it. You have no nature access and there's an Airmore in the game. These guys are living, moving wine bottle. Like you make like 2 or 3 of these guys and you put them on bodyguard.
Or, hear me out, it's MA, and there are still tribe mages and Amazons everywhere. The odds of you not getting a nature random in MA is pretty low.
But you need to go to construction 4 to get the the wine thing. And I mean, this is not a bad construction 2 nation, but I don't see the need to go construction 4, especially when you're so desperate for like your research is just trash.
Yeah,
Like this almost looks worse than Pan for research.
it is as bad as Pan.
So I mean, like Fave Wars, dude. Fave Wars.
Okay.
But to
I
go back to the salt gem and moving on, we do need to talk about some salts, which is Ashdod.
oh sweet Jesus. Where where do we begin?
I love noob games, dude. Noob games are hilarious because somebody with a little skill takes Ashdod, and I mean the salt flows.
So when you look at Ashdod originally, you're like, oh, these are a whole bunch of size 4s and size 5 and size 6 things. These are gonna be fucking awful. And then you look at the Anakites, and you're like, 2 attacks? That's not terrible. But one of them's a native magic attack, and they
Yeah.
one-shot elves. There is not a single elf alive in EA that can take an Anakite sword and walk it off.
Now with a lot of luck, and if you get hit twice, lightning doesn't strike twice.
Then you look at that HP total, and you're like, that's not bad. Then you look at those stats, and you see 16 defense with a 20 protection shield. And then you're like, oh, now I see why everyone complains. Unlike Hinnom, Ashdod does not eat its own people. So
Yeah.
you don't need growth as Ashdod to maintain a stable income. It just maintains itself.
Now let's talk about because new games to me the gate for a person to go from a newbie to a person who can play multiplayer competitively is Ashdod is a gate. If you can't deal with Ashdod, then you're still a new player. Now there are some nations that you just there's nothing you can do, but most nations have a counter. But what is the normal cancerous of all cancer build for Ashdod?
Blood Bond regen.
Is it yeah, there we go. Is that no? It's the oh god. Yes, thank you for the
Yes,
new
they
pretender.
can take the Wooden Colossus.
So we're looking at regen, and then don't forget fortitude. We need fortitude. So there you go.
And then what you'll see is you'll see them trash all the scales.
Yeah, something like
Go cold. Go cold before you go drain.
oh cold.
Cold 2. Actually,
Okay.
cold 1. Cold
You
2,
go.
yeah, Cold 2, and then give yourself give yourself one less drain skill.
Ah, okay. And then, so something like this, and then, so Fortitude means you get half damage from anything not a magic spell. Like specifically a magic spell.
The only types of damage that with this build Ashdod will take full damage from are air spells, ice spells, and acid damage.
Jeez. So, for lack of, without going exception crafting, you take half damage from everything. So you're taking half damage, you're regenning how many HP per turn?
6. But you're not just taking half damage. Because you're Blood Bond, you're taking half damage and then half of that. So you're taking quarter damage. So you need to hit an Anakite for over 28 damage for it not to regen it in the same turn you hit it.
So 28 damage, Fortitude brings it down to 14, and then you get half again, which brings it to 7, and then at that point you're taking 1 point of damage.
Yes.
That's hilarious. And that's not even counting the fact that 28, it's not 28 damage because they also have 19 protection. So it's 28 damage on top of 19 protection.
Yeah, but you only build the big Anakites once you've cleared your cap circle because they're so resource heavy. You build the smaller Anakites first, which are still 14 protection, 15 protection.
So 24 plus 15 is 39 damage. They don't even deal 39 damage each in their gigantic guys with 21 strength.
I don't believe there is a unit in MA that consistently does 39 damage without having a magic item.
So my question is, how do you kill them? Oh, by the way, they're Berserk too, so they also add 2 more protection. Yay!
Well, the way you kill Ashdod depends entirely on Ashdod's build. If they went Scales Ashdod, which is the scarier version of Ashdod, because there reaches a point where there are some stuff that Anakites cannot kill, you can throw water elementals at them. And I'm not talking like 10 or 20. I'm talking 130 gems worth of water elementals can kill 50 Anakites.
Now, do you think that this is actually going to... Now, you said like Scales Ashdod, but, I mean, we could theoretically see this because this is a newer player game. Who's on the Ashdod, by the way? Let's see.
So Ashdod is played by Muspelheim Wen. Oh, well, that poor bastard. He's the guy I threw 130 water elementals at to kill when he was Ashdod.
So this guy actually knows. This guy knows how to play. If he's played before.
He knows how to play, and I've killed him when he was Ashdod with water elementals.
Now, does he normally run Scales or does he normally run Hellbless?
In this lobby, I would bet money he runs Hellbless, mainly because I don't see Grippa, and I'm not to be mean to Grippa. I think Grippa's improving a lot, and he's a nice guy. But I don't see Grippa, Novell, Jared, maybe Grandpa having a plan to deal with less Anakite.
And that's what I kind of get at, is that it's definitely kind of one of those. It's just like EA Niflheim. There is a gate that you need to, to understand on how to actually, how to beat Ashdod in order to be a quote unquote better player, and to be competitive in other games. Now, what's the downside of this build? I mean, why do they not win every single game?
Basically, what happens is with this build, you run out of steam. You can kill the first 2-3 players easy. This is a small game, so that might be enough. However, by the time you get to the 3rd player, they're throwing out super combatants that are geared to kill you, rigor mortis to tire you out, bone grinding to fuck with casting, assassins in flight to mess with your leadership. They are doing everything in their power to make sure those Anakites don't hit your lines. It is basically turns into how fast can I kill Ashdod's leaders before the Anakites kill me? And if we look at Ashdod's leaders, you're going to see across the board the answer is not fast at all.
I mean, like, these Adans are pretty flippin' awesome, but you're probably going to be seeing more of the Zamzamites, right?
They're cap only.
So you're going to see these Rephite Sages. So
Yeah,
in other
and
words, guys with
Sages,
bows.
and Roughite Sages are better researchers, which allow you to run Drain and not hate life. But they are not the best combat mages. And you're going to see that Ashdod has national blood spells without a single blood mage.
I mean, the nice thing is that you're normal. I mean, you take Bloodbond, you can actually get to the
Sadir and Sajin. Oh, Sadir are actually 100 times better than Sadim because Sadir are blessable.
Okay. So yeah, that's interesting.
Baratos, Hinnom, Gath, and Ashdod have access to these spells.
It's just I'm remembering the I am is the pluralization in Hebrew, so it's like the seers. So okay, so they've got the serum, and these are like what you get in Hinnom a lot, right?
Yep, this is what you get in Hinnom, Gath, and Baratos. They're the size 3, 2 attacks, and with this blessed, they are super scary. As opposed to the Sidim, which are size 3 with lightning attacks and flying. However, they can't take your bless.
So I guess at that point we are actually done. I mean, it only took us 2 hours to go over all the different nations, and but yeah, it does seem like we are done.
Yeah, it's not like this is like a 12-person game or anything. It's nice. It's easy. It's 8. There's no underwater nations. But
And we've
other
got
than that,
people. Yeah, we've got 8 people playing, and all 8 of them are sitting there going start the game already. So we better stop the recording and go push the play button.
yep. We'll see you guys for the first couple of turns in whenever the heck Dardamosa uploads this.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Bye.